Hey guys, what's up? Stock Retail coming back to you here to talk about what you see on the screen. Man, it's been crazy to see the movement of gold and silver and Bitcoin kind of reaching all-time highs. Bitcoin, really more close to its all-time high. Gold and silver just moving continuously up. And so I just want to talk about those ways that I'm looking at those and thinking about those, what's going on in the market. And as always, we'll hit a couple AMC topics too. So if you hadn't seen, man, just showing you a couple of 5-year charts here, some brief just snapshots I took from my phone as I was putting this together. It's something that's been on my mind for a few days, and that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it. And so you'll just see here. I mean, yeah, gold, silver, all-time high, Bitcoin just sniffing at its all-time high. You can tell because I snapshot this. I think right before I started recording this video, I noticed that Bitcoin is even higher now, getting closer to like 69K. I think silver was kind of pushing towards $33. I didn't look at gold right before I started recording. So these are just the idea, a point in time, but just all-time highs and significant movement recently. Really wild to see and really great to see. And there's something I've been thinking about for a few days, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. A few days ago, I think I tweeted. If I didn't tweet it, I know I was thinking it. This is probably about a week ago, maybe 8 or 9 days ago. We're talking about these in terms of the dollar. So in fact, here you go. You can look at this higher white line as Bitcoin over the last 4 years. How has it moved against the dollar? You can see here's this orange line. This is silver against the dollar. And you'll notice actually here, there's gold on there, but then also notice I've got car insurance and groceries. This middle blue line is groceries. Car insurance is kind of down here, this yellow line. And the reason is that 8 or 9 days ago, I was thinking about all right, we talk about gold, silver, Bitcoin, stonks in terms of how much are they worth in dollars, right? Like we track AMC's price day in and day out. Some of you track, GameStop's price day in and day out. But we're tracking that in dollars, and it's like, well, I was thinking recently, okay, but how many Big Macs does it buy? I don't even eat a Big Mac. It's not my deal, but just the concept out there. And so that's what I want to talk a little bit about. And so reminders, we kind of get into this in case we forgot. I mean, here's the track record of just the last 2 years, basically, year and a half, really, almost 2 years of our debt. I mean, our debt is just flying upwards, right? And so that spells, I don't know, man, portends is a weird word to use. I don't know why that word just came to me. Guys, I do this stuff off the cuff, and so just whatever words come to me, that's what you get to hear. But it points to some predictable behavior in the future for gold and silver and Bitcoin and the dollar and stocks. There's a lot of things that we're going to see because of this debt, and that's why it's such a big topic of conversation. So speaking of which, one of the things we'll see is debasement. You've heard me talk about that before. If you're newer to my channel, debasement is just, think about, we say the money printer go burr. If you're, just think of the laws of supply and demand. If you're constantly making more of something, it's diluting. It's dilution of the US dollar, of any fiat currency. This is happening to currencies around the world. And so when we talk about fiat, we talk about debasement, you're going to hear sort of Bitcoin people talk about that a lot, and people who are into gold and silver are talking about that. It's really just inflation. Inflation is stuff costing more of your fiat currency. And so I've said regularly here in my family, they know I say it all the time, and I've said it on my channel here. Generally, things are not actually necessarily costing you more. It's that your money is worth less. And that's an important mind shift. And so reminder about that debasement, fiat currencies are constantly being devalued. I had a video I did, it's in my Great Unwinding playlist somewhere where I'm talking about the banks and fiat and Bitcoin. And I show you just for, 70 years now, the US dollar has constantly been going down, just constantly. And so when we're measuring this second bullet here, when we're measuring, hey, gold is at an all-time high, silver's at an all-time high, when you're measuring it against something that's always going down, you're measuring it in dollars. Let's go back to those charts, right? I'm even showing you, these are prices in dollars. When we say they're at all-time highs, they're at all-time highs against the dollar. You could do this against the euro or other currencies as well. When you're measuring an all-time high against a thing that's always going down, I'm just kind of saying it feels a bit like celebrating that grass is growing. If I wake up in the morning and I go, hey, the grass grew, woohoo, it's a little bit ridiculous to celebrate because you already knew it was going to happen. It's just kind of like supposed to happen. If the dollar is always going down, of course gold is at an all-time high. I'm not sure that's a really big achievement. It's about like grass growing. So what about other views? How about how much food will it buy? Let's talk about something real. How much is it keeping ahead of your basic expenses like car insurance? When you invest and you're thinking about your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future, what if you're investing and actually losing ground against the expenses all around you? And you might be feeling that out there, right? Like when you go to the grocery store, when you pay your car insurance. It was interesting. I was prepping this video yesterday, and like a friend out there, another ape, had posted about their car insurance and how it had like doubled in the past year. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect timing because I was actually planning to talk about this. So how about, if we view this, so you've seen this chart, right? This is what I showed you just a minute ago. Here's how everything is tracked against the US dollar. But when you're measuring against the wrong thing, like I said, kind of celebrating the grass growing, it's this idea. Tommy Boy is like a movie that I love. And there's this scene where the guy goes in, it's David Spade. He's always sarcastic. He plays sarcastic characters. He's being kind of a jerk. And the guy behind the counter is basically dishing it back to him. And finally, you realize David Spade just has the wrong map. So, of course, he can't find where he's trying to go because he has the wrong map. So sometimes we end up not being at the place we want to be. Like you want to invest for your future and your children's future and your grandchildren's future. And so you got to ask, am I going to get there? And you got to make sure you have the right map. So let's just take a look now against how are these assets doing against groceries? Well, we paint a whole different picture here. Over the last 4 years, if you just baseline against groceries, so see this blue flat line, that's groceries. Keep that at a 0. And if you measure against groceries year over year, and you can go find some information out on the internet. I took a look for one example of a data point is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, kind of did some research in a few other spots. I actually, by the way, believe that this is I think groceries have gone up even more than what I'm showing you. I mean, I feed a family of 5. I feel the grocery bill. I know what I'm paying, and I actually think it's gone up by a lot more than this. But I'm going to try to, use some standard data that's out there so that you can also fact check me. So like I said, one place you could go is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you could go find some of the data that I've used. If you actually look now over the last 4 years, had you stayed invested in gold and silver, you're buying less groceries. Versus groceries, gold and silver are actually down almost 200%. Groceries have gone up faster than gold and silver. Now, why does that matter, right? So if you're holding something, eventually you're holding it so that you can add value to your life, right? You're hoping someday maybe it buys you vacations, it buys you food, it buys your children college. Darn, I just realized I should have put college costs on here. I would bet money that against college costs, these are also down. Maybe I'll do that as a follow-up. I didn't even think of that till just now as I'm talking to you. Like I said, I just do this off the cuff. But you're investing in the hopes of making a future that's better than your present, right? And so you need to know that you're investing in things that are gaining value against the world all around you. And you are hoping that you're getting ahead. And you're hoping that future generations are getting ahead. Well, in the case of groceries, that's not happening. Over this 4-year period, you would not be able to buy as many groceries now as you could have in the past if you just sat in gold and silver. I think that matters. And whereas in Bitcoin, you can see it's really volatile. So that would be the only thing, you could talk about pros and cons of investing in a volatile instrument. You can see Bitcoin has been all over the place the last few years. But let's remind ourselves this period of time is the collapse of FTX and Binance and all that went on that I believe, check out my Great Unwinding playlist. I believe people were actually attacking Bitcoin. And then you have bankruptcy issues and you have Grayscale having to exit a lot of positions. So I think this is, if I zoomed out to like a 10-year view, these, both for gold and silver and then for Bitcoin, would look a lot different. I want to be really clear too, because before I finish this video, I'm going to make it really clear that I frankly love gold and silver. I think they're great assets. In fact, let me not jump ahead, but so don't misread what I'm saying. But I do just want to re-ground myself and my listeners in, are we actually using the right map? Are we measuring against the right things? If you're going to measure your assets, your investments, real estate too, by the way, I also pulled information for real estate. If you're going to measure against fiat currencies, you're just, again, it's like saying that the grass grew. Almost anything is going to go up against fiat currencies because the central banks right now are running the financial systems, and they're, in my opinion, running us all into financial slavery by debasing our currencies, creating mountains of debt, and creating inflationary environments. This is what central banks do. This is what they've done for 70, 80, actually really 100 plus years. Go back to the creation of the Federal Reserve, which I like the way Nayib Bukele in El Salvador says it. It's neither federal nor does it hold reserves. A little bit of an oversimplification, but I do like the point he's making. And so if you followed me for a minute, you know I am not pro central banks, and you're probably hearing that come through. But Groceries is a great way of measuring the actual fruit of their actions. The actions of the past 50 years have resulted in your everyday life costing you more dollars. And in this case, groceries having gone up faster than even these assets that are amazing like gold and silver. But let's not just look at that. Let's look at car insurance. Now, better story. Gold and silver are actually up versus car insurance. But first off, you can see not very much. They're up, I think this in 4 years, it's about 20+%. Each of them were up a little over 20% versus car insurance. So you sit in those for 4 years, you're up 20%. Yeah, it's not bad. That is a better life. You could buy more car insurance in theory. Had you invested in car insurance, which is not, itself really an asset, but that's the idea here, versus investing in these, you would be better off having been in gold and silver. So that's cool. But notice the point at the bottom left. Actually, over the past year, car insurance is up significantly more than gold and silver. And so who knows if that's a continued trend or not. We're going to have to all watch that. But it's up significantly more than gold or silver. And those, if I just showed you a 1 year chart, they would be back into that negative territory. Versus Bitcoin is the only asset, again, that has beaten car insurance. I'm talking a lot about Bitcoin and gold and silver here, but you guys know in AMC in particular, I believe there is deep, deep value in it. I believe there's a squeeze coming. So that's just a different conversation. But all of this to say, around gold and silver and Bitcoin and any other asset that you think is valuable, real estate, I would just encourage you through the rest of your life. Actually, I'm not quite done. I just remembered. I want to show you. Here's that Big Mac comparison. The price of Big Mac is actually something economists look at. And so I guess it's no surprise it had crossed my mind, like I said, a week plus ago. I tend to generally think like a financial person or an economist. And if you followed me for a while, then you guys have seen that. And you can see it kind of measures a country's currency, whether it's sort of overvalued or undervalued. And then look at this. If you looked over the past, this is actually a little longer, this is 10 years, but let's say here, let's go, I've been measuring since 2020, so 2019 is pretty close. In 2019, the Big Mac was $4.40, now it's $9.30. I can tell you right now that actually outpaced, I'd have to go double check that, but I believe if I went back to those charts I showed you, Big Mac outpaced gold and silver as well. So you're buying less Big Macs if you sat in gold and silver for the last 4 years. Now, that's probably a good thing. If you're following Robert Kennedy Jr. and the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again movement and all that is going on in the American diet, probably not such a bad thing if you can't buy as many Big Macs. But I think you guys understand that there's a broader point here, which is, even replace that with healthy food, and that's a problem. It's buying you less. It's putting less food on the table, probably less clothes on backs. You're not keeping pace with the world around you. And so I think it's really important to measure against the right things. So I want to be just really clear before I move on to a couple AMC points. I still honestly love gold and silver. I think they're great assets. Some people even believe there may be a squeeze in one or both of those. There's been behavior by, let's say, typical spoofers. I'm looking at you, sort of Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citibank, different Citigroup. Large investment houses and brokerages who seem to really manipulate these markets. And so I am not at all saying, I would stay away from these. In fact, I'm pretty glad that AMC owns, part ownership in a gold and silver mine. I think we're going to make a lot of profit on that at some point as it starts to move into actual physical mining, which, I hear is still a little bit off, but coming. And I'm just showing you a couple of screenshots from a video I made more than a year and a half ago, where I was spelling out a bit of the thesis, including AMC having this ownership in a gold mine and why that was going to work out so well. I was talking about inflation. Actually, I guess maybe I've coined a new term. I was talking about inflation and debasement. So I guess inflation. And I was talking about all that really for the past several years. This is just one video from not quite 2 years ago. And so I just want to make it clear. I mean, you can see here USD alternatives, gold, silver, crypto. Boom. I was telling you almost 2 years ago, these were going to go up because of the money printer go burr and I guess that inflation, if I can use that term again. So I have not changed my point of view. Still the same point of view. Gold and silver will go up against the dollar. That will add value to AMC. We're going to be very happy about that. I believe that. I honestly do. And then if you look at Hycroft, now you got to go more than just, a simple view of what do I think happens to gold and silver. It's also, I guess, two more things. Will Hycroft find any lithium? Don't know. That's sure speculative. But even aside from that, the stock value can be a little bit separate from just the commodity itself, right? So if you believe it's been suppressed, if you believe it's been shorted, then perhaps there's hidden value in that as well. And then also just the value of if they flip from being sort of an exploratory company to a mining company, the value you're hoping to realize there. So I just want to make it really clear. I'm still thankful that Adam had the vision here. I do believe it's going to pay off. I am not at all speaking against that. You guys know how deep I am in AMC. And so all I'm just saying, when you consider, let's say maybe your asset allocations, when you're thinking, do I want to be in gold and silver? How much do I want to be in those? Don't just measure against fiat currencies. I'm encouraging you, think through, are these actually, let's say in the past is one thing, but also then as a future outlook, do I believe these can outpace, like I said, the broader world around me and create future value for myself and my family? And so that's all. I just wanted you to think about using a different map and just shift our mindset a little, because I just see a lot of these posts about all-time highs, but that's all-time highs against a fiat currency that is itself at an all-time low. So that's all. It matters what you measure against. Okay. So on AMC, some things, actually just generally some things I'm watching. Bitcoin, like I said, it's moved even more. In fact, I'm just going to pull it up. I was just kind of wondering if it could have hit 69 while I was talking. It's not. It's 68.9. It's like right there. There's a lot of shorts on Bitcoin too, guys. So I have seen some stats in the past. I wanted to pull those for you, but I didn't quite get to it. That I think around 70K, there's just a stack of a large amount of shorts there. And so perhaps if Bitcoin does run further, I don't know. I can't, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you the exact timing. If you followed me for a while that my thesis on Bitcoin is not about days and weeks. It's about years and even generations. Perhaps you've heard me say even like my 18-year-old son is invested. My 10-year-old son was temporarily invested. He still is right now, but pretty soon I'm supposed to give that money back to him. We just kind of had a bet, and I was sort of teaching him the value of waiting. He only had to stay in for 6 months, and then he gets his money back with some interest, basically. That either Bitcoin was going to go up or Dad was going to kind of make it go up for him. And just wanted to teach him sort of about delayed gratification. But anyway, the point is my kids are invested, and I've been talking to my daughter. She's got a little bit of savings from a kind of a teenager part-time job she does, and we're going to put some money in for her too. So I believe in that as a really long-term thing. So when I'm talking about these shorts, I can't predict the day or time that Bitcoin goes crazy, but pull out and look at like a 5-year or even a 10-year chart. They always say past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but if you look at the thesis of Bitcoin, I sort of coined a term the other day. It's like obviously we talk about debasement. So Bitcoin's going up against fiat currencies. That's just like an easy no-brainer. It's going to happen. Because you can't print Bitcoin. There's only 21 million ever. There's not going to be more. So there's debasement. But interestingly, I was thinking about with mining, I'll call it defacement. Like you've got to strip the earth to get those metals out. And what's more, you can get more metals. And so as much as I love gold and silver and believe in them as a hedge against inflation, clearly they are. Just interesting to think about that, especially for miners who are using renewable energy. I see like in South America, like in Chile and in El Salvador, people are even using like geothermal energy to mine Bitcoin. Then in theory, maybe there's less sort of defacement of the earth. And then if you think about other commodities, like say lumber, I can't remember the other one I was thinking about. It'll come to me as soon as I stop this video. But there's erasement. Like some of those are, you use them and they're gone. And so to me, again, it's just why Bitcoin, you can love gold and silver, but I can love Bitcoin more. Let's put it that way. It doesn't mean I'm negative on those. I'm just more positive on Bitcoin. So I guess the point is there's a lot of shorts. Bitcoin may run a lot further. That's really what I'm trying to say outside of that ramble there. AMC earnings. So those are coming early November. Go back and see my Q3 forecast. That's a couple videos ago. Also did a Q4 and a kind of a forward view. AMC, you're hearing publicly from the... sorry, got a phone call here that distracted me. The mainstream media and shorts looking at the rear view and talking about kind of the business in, say, 2021, or talking about the strike season that we just came out of. But if you look at the real underlying fundamentals of AMC, it's a shift to profitability that has already happened. And I believe that's going to show here in this earnings that's getting reported any day now. I don't know whether we'll get a preview again or whether we wait for the call, but it's coming soon. And so that's something just out there on the horizon, on the radar, that the mainstream media is going to have to admit to AMC's profitability. They'll probably lie for a while and say, oh, this is just Q3. But you guys know 2025 gets better, 2026 gets even better. And I think the Q3 we just finished was sort of record level profits in terms of the last 4 years. So going to be really, really good. Ballinger Bands, I'm going to show you a view of that in a minute. That's something I'm tracking. Just AMC, it's been really lame to be so stuck for so long. But on the other hand, that's also like this coil that's tightening, in my opinion. So watch that. Watch trading volumes. I think we had an all-time low on our trading volumes yesterday. To me, that's actually somewhat bullish. It means the exit doors are getting real tight for the shorts. So if we do have any catalyst, watch out. I've told you in the past, I'm watching the volatility index, the VIX. I still think that perhaps if we have a big event, AMC squeezing, maybe Bitcoin, maybe gold and silver squeezing. I don't know. We might have a lot of squeezes on our hands. That we may also have an event where the VIX kind of skyrockets. Don't know for sure, but that did happen a few months ago. Aladdin, the reason I'm talking about that is people always ask me, like, when are we going to win? How are we going to win? If Citadel and others can internalize and be off exchange and in alternate exchanges, and front run and do over-the-counter trades and just all the things that they do, spoofing, mismarking shorts as longs. We've talked about all of this. So if they can do this, then how do we ever beat them? A lot of you ask me that all the time. There's a few things. One is, I'd say, global macroeconomics. I would also say AMC's profitability. And then what happens is, I honestly believe there are going to be some algorithms out there which themselves get really hungry and start noticing the value in AMC and GameStop. It's just that I generally talk about AMC, but I think, and DFE, he even posted a meme basically of Aladdin, right? Go back, you'll find that. And that was something that was already my point of view, and clearly, well, I shouldn't say clearly. If you believe that the decode is correct and he's talking about this Aladdin, then it seems he and I agree that at some point there are forces that will be outside of some folks' control. And when it gets real hungry for AMC shares, you could see that volume. That's why I'm tracking those volumes too and those Ballinger Bands. If suddenly the algos decide, whoa, hey, there's some value here, they're going to start gobbling up AMC shares and drive the price up outside of others' control. Last bullet here. And by the way, on all that Aladdin stuff, we could talk about that a lot deeper, and maybe I will someday. But just the point is, yes, we're going to win. I believe that strongly. AMC's profitability alone is going to break the shorts. Then there's a lot of other stuff going on in terms of macros, and let's say large powers fighting each other. I really believe we're going to win. You guys know that. Two stocks that went bonkers. I mean bonkers. Go check them out. These are over-the-counter stocks. I do not recommend chasing them. I am not in these. I do not own any shares. I'm staying the heck away. I don't invest in penny stocks in general, but certainly on these, you could have made a lot of money. I think drug went up over 5,000% on a run there, and Nuvi went up, like yesterday, I think it was up like 700% or something in one day. I do not believe in these companies. I am not pushing these. What I'm really saying is, remember HKD, remember Genius, GNS? We saw some weird things from a few stocks, HKD in particular. And then I had done DD and did not believe in that either. But there are some, let's say, conspiracy theories on some of these. And man, what's going on? Why are these running so hard? So I guess I'm just saying these are things that I'm noticing out there, that there are some penny stocks, making 5,000+% runs, and kind of asking myself, okay, who's doing that? What's that coming from? All right, so on those Ballinger Bands, just interesting. I think I saw a couple other people actually notice this too. I just pulled out, you can see this is, it's the 3-month view in Webull, but zoomed out farther than 3 months. So the 3-month timeline basically, but zoomed out even farther. And if you look at those Ballinger Bands over time, it kind of looks like that one DFV post of the signs. So that just drew my attention. I hadn't looked at these in quite a while. Why am I tracking these? Ballinger Bands can give you an idea of how sort of tightly price movement is getting, how tight price movement is getting, and from time to time can signal a new move coming. Certainly, I believe AMC is at the bottom. You can see I screenshotted this yesterday. We're higher than this now. And I believe AMC is at the bottom. And so if there's a big move being signaled coming up by these Ballinger Bands, that I would believe that's a move up. So that's just interesting to think about that perhaps being squeezy. Just one more sign, something I'm watching. And my belief, we will win. So let's go.